Thank you very much, dear Vice President, dear Pina, dear First Vice President Sabine Verheyen, Miriam Lexman, colleagues, Fabienne Keller, members of the Bureau, members of Parliament, good evening. This is an important moment in the European Parliament's calendar where we celebrate the people behind the story and the remarkable work that they do every day. It is an award for investigative journalism named after the formidable force of nature that was Daphne Caruana Galizia, assassinated in Malta 8 years ago. It is hard to believe that it has been that long and that her family and us all are still waiting for justice to be served. So today is also a reminder of our responsibility to keep pushing for a semblance of justice for her. This year has been an especially difficult one for journalists, whether all those killed in war zones or those targeted and denigrated by those they are reporting on. Just last week, and Pina mentioned it, we saw it again with a car bomb attack against Italian journalist Sigfrido Ranucci on the anniversary, 16th October, of the one that took Daphne's life. Bravery should not have to be the part of the job description for a journalist, and yet too often it is. That's what Daphne personified: courage under unbelievable pressure, bravery in the face of onslaughts, lawsuits, attacks, threats to her. Daphne wrote when they burnt down her front door. She wrote when they killed her beloved dog. She wrote when they targeted her children, when they sacked her son in revenge. She wrote when mobs chased her down the street. She wrote when those she exposed froze her bank accounts. She wrote when she was the only one writing. She wrote even when she was scared, when she was vulnerable, when she knew what she was up against. Daphne was not only an investigative journalist, she was also funny. Genuinely laugh-out-loud funny. She was tough. She loved life. She was witty. She poked fun at politicians taking themselves too seriously. None of us were spared. She gardened and she loved food. Her children were everything to her. And she was a woman who dared to demand better from those elected to represent her. Now, they thought that the car bomb would make her forgettable. Instead, it made her invincible. And almost a decade later, the corrupt and the crooked still fear her enough to clear away a makeshift memorial dedicated to her every single night. Every single night. That was her impact, and that is her impact still. Now, to all of this year's finalists, congratulations. You remind us that journalism is not just a job, it is a public service, a pillar of our democracy, and that is why your work matters so much. And it is why the European Parliament will always be an ally in defending free speech, in protecting those who report it and acting when it is under threat. We have shown this through the European Media Freedom Act and through anti-SLAPP laws that stop abusive court cases, designed especially to silence journalists. Now, as we move into 2026, it is time for Member States to bring these rules into their national legislation and to go even further, to make sure that every journalist is protected. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the jury of the award. I know how much work it involves, and I hope we can make the process as easy as possible. I also want to thank a few people in particular. First and most importantly, my colleague, David Casa. You know, he first brought this prize to life. And this would not be possible if it was not for him. He has done so much until today, against all kinds of pressure, to fight for justice and her legacy. I'd like to thank Pina, who took up the baton as Vice President responsible for this prize. It was not an easy job, but you work so hard to protect journalists across Europe, even when you are facing big challenges. I would like to thank all the people in our services and our Communication Directorate General who made today possible, not only in the room dedicated to Daphne, but also to make sure that everybody, whoever enters this room, remembers her. I'd like to thank Daphne's family, to her 3 boys, Matthew, Andrew and Paul in particular. She would be so, so proud of the men you have all become. I also want to remember her mother, Rose Vella, who passed away before seeing justice for her daughter. So let me finish simply by saying thank you. Thank you to all of you for being here, for standing up when it would be easier to stay silent, for democracy, for Europe, and for the people who count on both.